It's Wednesday, February 27th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we begin Katsucon coverage. Let's do this.
Now, I know a lot of people are listening to Geeknights right now. You're listening to this episode expecting some Katsucon coverage, and we're going to have that for you, but I know a lot of you are probably new Geeknights listeners. You've never listened to this stuff before. You were at Katsucon, you saw us, you were waiting for us to do the thing we'd say we do. Maybe you skipped those other episodes earlier in the week because you really only care about anime. Well, here it is. This is Geeknights Wednesdays, the night when we talk about anime, manga, and comics.
Seriously, though, if this is like, if you were waiting to listen to Geeknights until this episode came out, like, you discovered us, like, how many episodes do we already have you could have listened to? Why didn't you go and listen to one of those other old ones? What? Seriously?
Yeah, I don't think we need to explain what Geeknights is or how it works.
Well, if you're already hearing this, you've already figured it out. Congratulations.
Well, they might not have figured out that we air 4 nights a week and we cover 4 different topics.
All right. They can read that on the website.
But now's the part where normally we talk about our day, like, hey, Scott, how you doing? Blah, 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 flat tire. Hey, well, blah, 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 crazy homeless guy.
Actually, lately I'm feeling a lot better. Like, the sun was coming into the office today, and I felt like working, and I did work, and
oh, yeah? Well, I got my new laptop,
the winter's almost over. My gears are connecting again.
I walk outside, it's warm. I take the Express 4 train down to Union Square, go to the bag store, look at bags, go right back to work and order one of the bags I saw online for less money.
Did you buy that one bag that you said you liked?
No, actually, I didn't. I didn't actually purchase yet, but I filled my cart with 2 bags, and I got to pick one of the 2. I'm
not a fan of that bag.
I like that bag a lot.
Here, I'll demonstrate to you after the show how.
No, I know exactly how it works. The thing is, with that bag, it really, really goes with my duster, like in a big way.
Go on. Do you need a purse to match your shoes?
No, because I'm getting that bag.
Tables turned. Oh, Rim was shopping for a purse at the store. I had to wait for him.
Actually, it will match my shoes, and that was kind of important.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad we cleared this up.
Cleared what up?
Why you took so long to buy a bag?
Actually, I bought my bag immediately, unlike someone else we know who might be in this studio here, who, when we were trying to get to the beach,
spent time in the video game store as opposed to the bag, shoe, and
went to the mall trying to buy a pair of shoes to match his purse.
Yeah, Rim buying his cosmetics and his.
You mean my Kazuo Koie?
His perfume.
Anyway. So now's the time when we talk about our day, but I gotta skip that because every now and then
Today was not an exciting day.
No, it was not.
I mean, the most exciting thing I might have to say today is that Rim got some more ramens, but he got them yesterday, and they're still in his car.
Yeah, and I got a lot of exciting stories from the last week and a half where we didn't do Geek Nights, but those are all big enough to be actual kind of anecdotes as opposed to just, yesterday, blah, crazy homeless guy.
I got some. Oh, actually, no. When I got off the train, when I got home, and I walked up the stairs. Did you take the stairs out of the train station?
I did take the stairs.
Did you notice anything on those stairs?
I noticed something scary that I avoided.
You did see it. It was there that long.
I didn't know what it was, and I had guessed. I had a couple of guesses as to what it was.
A couple of guesses. What is your number one guess?
That's doo-doo!
It was a big doo-doo in a brown paper bag.
Are you sure it wasn't just like a big chocolate donut that someone dropped?
I am so sure that was poop.
Because I didn't inspect it. I decided.
I walked by it pretty quickly. I didn't smell it, but I'm confident that it was the shit of something.
Sometimes something happens and you're like, I gotta go see what that was or it'll haunt me the rest of my life. I saw it as I was walking up. My brain was saying...
Well, I was walking up and the person in front of me, for no reason, dodged to the left. So I looked down to see what they dodged to the left from, and it was a really giant poop. That's all I can say.
Sure, it might have just been a donut.
It could have been a donut, but I'm giving a 90% chance of poop.
See, my brain was calculating, because when you're walking, your brain's always calculating stuff. Like you're in the parking lot, and it's like, is that my car? There's an 80% chance that's my car. Yep, it's my car.
I actually have a new trick for finding my car at night in the parking lot.
Remembering where you park it, setting off the car alarm?
No, I push the unlock button on my keys.
And it goes boop, boop.
No, and it turns on the lights. And so I can see the lights reflecting off the cement in the dark.
I just popped my trunk because it sounds like a gun going off.
Yeah, I don't have a trunk popper because I have a hatch.
But my brain started to calculate what that was, and it said to me, all right, Rim, I've done some calculations, and if it's okay with you, I just like to stop right
Whatever
now.
it was, don't step in it. That's all that
My
matters.
brain said, let's just keep walking, and hopefully we'll forget about this. And I did forget about it until you brought it up here. Yeah, that's doo-doo.
It was doo-doo in the train station.
Anyway, instead of talking about my day and the doo-doo, I got something. I got to talk about this because it's rare. I mean, I read Fark. I'm a Farker. I used to post on Fark on an hourly basis back when I was in college. Now, I post maybe on a weekly basis. I don't really post anymore. I don't have time for that shit. I have a real job now. But every now and then, I come across a headline that makes me laugh. And every now and then, one of those headlines that makes me laugh causes me to read the article. And every now and then, the article is just one of those articles. And this is beyond thing of the day. I got to talk about this. Because
I think this might be Darwin Award material, depending on if the subject has reproduced.
when I was young, I often didn't wear a seatbelt, usually because I'm a good driver, and I was driving very short distances with no traffic in broad daylight.
I wear a seatbelt if I'm driving out of the driveway into the street.
Pretty much, though, now, because I live in places where roads curve, and there's deer and stuff, I wear a seatbelt no matter what, because something can happen. But, there are people who, there's laws in New York. You have to wear a seatbelt. A lot of places in this country and the world now have laws where if you don't wear a seatbelt, you can get pulled over. Well,
That's how it should be.
This gentleman was pulled over not once, not twice, but 32 times since,
32.
since February of 2003 for refusing to wear a seatbelt. Now, normally there are two courses of action. Course of action number one
Didn't
is...
they suspend his license after a point and just say you can't drive anymore?
No, because it's not a moving violation. They probably just kept giving him big tickets. I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's all right. His courses of action were either continue to give the big old finger to the police, the finger being keep pulling out his wallet and paying for these tickets, or I don't know, start wearing his goddamn seatbelt. There's a pattern here.
Well, there's an option of don't pay the ticket.
Yeah, but you know what? That option, that's a road you don't want to go down. So, no, he chose not the corners, not the straightaways, but the third path. This gentleman made an intricate fake seatbelt that would lay over his shoulder. So a cop, it would look like he was wearing a seatbelt, but in fact, he was not.
Okay.
Now, usually the reason people don't
Wouldn't
wear
it have been a lot
seatbelts-
easier just to wear the seatbelt?
Well, remember, there are two reasons people don't wear seatbelts. Reason the first is that they're just lazy. And reason the second is that they're fat.
Lazy? It's hard for me not to put the seatbelt on.
There was actually an article recently about how there's an inverse relationship between people's weight and their likelihood of wearing seatbelts, because the seatbelts are uncomfortable if you're really fat. But this guy was not really fat, and if he's lazy, I'm surprised he went through the effort of making a somewhat intricate system of fooling people into thinking that he was wearing a seatbelt.
Obviously, your explanation of there are only two reasons why people don't wear seatbelts is wrong. There must be other reasons people don't wear them.
Well, regardless, the story was on Fark, so obviously a police officer discovered his cunning plan, and you might imagine.
Well, you got to think, if we're telling you that he had a fake seatbelt, they must have found out he had a fake seatbelt. If he got away with it, we wouldn't have a news story about it, would we?
No one who's ever seen a bunyip live to tell about it, but they look like this. Oh, well, how do we know they look like that? How do you know what a cockatrice looks like? How do you know it doesn't look like some short dude?
How do you know what the Medusa looks like? How do you know that it's got snakes for hair?
Well, you can see the Medusa from the back. You just can't look her in the eye.
Yeah, but how do you watch Clash of the Titans and you see...
Or, you know what? If you make your fucking saving throw...
I guess, but the saving
throw against gaze attacks.
I mean, what's his name?
Or was it petrification?
Perseus couldn't even make the fucking saving throw. He had to use the mirror trick.
Mirror trick sucks. That's like -8 to hit. But anyway, so now I imagine the hilarious conversation between this gentleman and the police officer who discovered his fake seatbelt. But actually, no. This gentleman, I'm just going to read a sentence from the article. Quote, "His fatal injuries were caused when he was thrown forward onto the steering wheel in a low-impact crash."
Wear your seatbelt, even if you're driving down your street to your friend's house, not even on any major roads.
Dude gets pulled over 30 times for not wearing a seatbelt, makes an intricate device to fake wearing a seatbelt, and then, not too long after, is killed in an accident where it is clear, according to the coroner, that he would have survived with no injuries had he been wearing a seatbelt. I think it's sad, but I'll admit that I laughed out loud when I read this article.
I mean, it's sad that someone dies always, but
He was also a meth addict, just to add some.
that probably explains a lot there. But yeah, this is like the least sad death I think in the history of the world.
Nah, Hitler.
Okay, but
Second least sad death.
it's it's
I don't know,
one of the
actually-
it's one of the least sad deaths.
Actually, I got to say, I finally learned the exact story of how Robespierre met his end. And
Robespierre, there was a jolly fellow.
Robespierre was probably one of the most pissed off people in the history of pissed off people. Good God, did that guy not die with dignity? But
I think if Robespierre was alive today, with his level of pissed offness, he would have been a stand-up comedian and then killed himself.
Louis Black, Robespierre. Yeah, I can kind of see it.
That's what I'm telling you.
But anyway,
Louis Black didn't
this
kill
is not-
himself yet.
yet. This isn't, regular radio. This is Geeknights. So I think that's the end of me talking about that stuff. So, anime time?
I think it is anime time because it's definitely not comics time.
All right, so what's up?
All right, so remember how it was like the end of the world, and in terms of American anime, right? We're less time on anime in the USA.
Anime in the U.S. going under.
ADV had some problems, legal problems, contractual problems with Sojitz or whatever that company is. The company that helped them get licenses, and they lost licenses to a bunch of shows, and all kinds of stuff was going on, and people were glooming and dooming, saying, oh, the anime industry in the U.S. is dead. No one's buying DVDs.
And that is all kind of true. I mean, we're not going to say, oh, the anime industry is fixed, but it's starting to come back.
No, but remember how when that news was also happening, one of the things we said, there seems to be a consensus that, there are many problems and things going on, but two contributing things are, one, looking at that list of ADV things that got canceled, right? Most of those are things that nobody cared about, and maybe one or two of them were things we cared about. Pretty much 5 centimeters per second and Project Blue Chikyuu SOS.
Project Blue Chikyuu SOS, much like Bakano, is one of those shows that has the potential to be one of those shows.
Yep. And looking at the list, even ones I didn't care about, I could tell that one's going to be profitable, that one's not going to be, et cetera, right? Well, some of them have been saved. ADV managed to save some show.
Now, because you have not immediately attempted to kill yourself, I'm assuming that there is good news with Project Blue Chikyuu SOS.
Oh, it couldn't be better news. Look at this, right?
I think it couldn't be better news because the best news is ADV has already translated it, and they're driving toward our house now with DVDs on gold platters that they're then going to show to us.
There could be better news, but this is the news. Here are the new ship dates for things that were previously canceled by ADV but are now not canceled. All right, you ready? Shipping on March 18th, Moonlight Mile number 2.
Moonlight Mile, despite the sheer amount of sex that was unexpected, was actually a pretty good show.
Yep. Shipping on, March 4th, 5 centimeters per second. Canon Volume 3, Amagata 6, Red Garden 4, whatever. Shipping on March 11th, Venus vs. Virus 3. I'm not going to read the whole list. All that's important is shipping on March 11th, Project Blue Earth SOS 2. And shipping yesterday, Project Blue Earth SOS 1. Yesterday. As in the day before right now. As in probably 2 days ago, because most of you are going to be listening to this on Thursday and not Wednesday when I'm recording it. Project Blue Earth SOS is probably in Best Buy right now. You can go get it.
You
can go on Amazon.
should.
You can go on Amazon right now and click add to cart with one click, and it will probably be at your house early next week, if not Saturday. I suggest you do so. Now, the thing is, I'm gonna have a tough time, right? Because they obviously haven't learned from their mistake of why are you releasing all these individual DVDs? Just put the box of the whole show out and fuck everything else. They haven't learned that lesson yet, right? But Project Blue Earth SOS is a weird one in that it's really not too many episodes. It's not like a 26 episode
I would definitely
show.
be willing to buy it one episode per DVD.
It's an OAV, and the first episode was like 45 minutes long, and there aren't too many of them. So should I go out and buy disc 1 that came out yesterday? I mean, if disc 2 is going to come out March 11th, that's pretty soon. That's like a few weeks, less than a month. So maybe I should go that route on this particular show. That might be the way to, because it's such a good show, and I've only seen one episode, and I liked it so much. And also, if episode 2 sucks, I can just sort of stop and not continue buying the other episodes. If episode 2's no good, that might be a good idea. I think. We'll see. But everyone should buy the first disc because that's worth having, and even if you don't need to see the rest. So yeah. ADV, they managed to save the important show. I don't really care about anything else.
So, in equally important anime news, I'm not going to dwell on these because we're going to wait for a lot more information to come out, and then we'll probably just do a show about this business. But there are 2 important anime that are going to be coming out eventually in Japan, and I assume the U.S., because these are shows that did awesomely in the U.S. First off, it looks like, according to the wrapper cover of the final volume of the Trigun manga.
Okay, wait, stop right there. Right, first of all, thank God that fucker is over. Goddamn.
Are you still reading that? Because the Trigun anime was amazing.
The Trigun anime is amazing. If you don't realize, I say this every time it comes up, but I have to say it every time it comes up.
This is like top 5 anime ever.
I have to say this every time it comes up, even though I'm repeating myself. The Trigun manga is bad. I mean,
no, I wouldn't say bad. I would say messed up is the proper
terrible. Right. Okay, well, actually, there's 2 volumes, the gold and the silver volumes, Trigun 1 and Trigun 2. Those are actually okay. They're average manga. If you really like Trigun, get those. The Trigun Maximum is just terrible and screwed up and crazy bad shit.
I wouldn't say it's terrible. The only problem with the Trigun manga,
it makes no sense,
is that
it's incomprehensible. Random shit.
You can read a page. You will turn the page and read the next page, and you will not be able to figure out exactly what happened between these 2 pages. In fact, you could probably take every 5th page out and just move some pages around. I don't think anyone would notice.
I think they just scramble up the pages, I think.
Yasuhiro Naito is a madman.
It's not Yasuhiro. It's Yasuhiro. Yes.
He's a madman.
He is a madman. But anyway, I have volume 12 in English, right? And I knew there was a 13th volume, right? And I'm thinking, well, this has to be pretty much like the end, right? And then knowing 14 is the end is like, good God.
But this movie is one of those straight up movies. They don't even really have a title or anything yet. It's going to come out in 2009. But the Trigun movie is going to be a completely original story from Naito and Nishimura, who did the original Trigun anime. And if this happens, this is going to be so badass.
Hey, from what I read, right, because Trigun the movie has been a rumor for a long time, right? And I've been thinking recently there's been a definite lack of anime movies that aren't Pokemon, Naruto, One Piece movies, So this is really good news on that front. And in addition, it seems like, from what I've read, this tiny bit of information that, all we have to go on, is that they have the right idea in, we're not going to base this on the manga or the anime. We're just going to take the characters people like and the universe, and we're going to make, over an hour of animation that will entertain.
Now, the other thing is that they've got the right people on board here, because we've seen the situation where a popular thing, Tenchi Muyo, is taken over by different people who suck. And the series just kind of goes downhill in a bad way.
Wasn't it already at the bottom of the hill? I mean,
Tenchi Muyo was a pretty good show when it came out. The original
all
OAV,
Tenchi Muyo sucks. All of it.
You suck.
You suck.
The original Tenchi OAV, Ryo-Oki, and the first Tenchi movie are absolutely amazing, especially
why
that first movie.
Is the original OAV named after, like, the cute animal creature that's the sidekick?
Maybe you should watch it and find out.
Maybe I shouldn't, because it's terrible.
I don't get your problem with
harem shows.
Yeah, the first harem show, the best harem show.
Okay, that's like saying the least smelly poop in the train station.
Let me put it this way. It just like slice of life shows, and there's a lot of genres or types of shows that are maligned, but independently, there are shows in those genres that can be good. I think the early Tenchi Muyo was actually pretty good. And
all right, name a good moe.
I'd argue that Lucky Star is pretty good.
It's not. I don't think it's a moe show. I think it's a comedy.
Yeah, but it's got those elements.
I think it's in the same genre as Genji-Ken. It just has a different art style.
But a lot of people, anyway, I'm not going to get into this now.
Anyway,
we talk forever. But you're dumb. Tenchi's pretty good.
Anyway.
But also, they're going to make another Slayers.
Oh yeah, I vote Naga the Serpent only.
What? No, the good Slayers was the original
Naga the
TV
Serpent?
show. The OAV, most of the OAVs were not actually that good.
Quiet you.
And the manga, not so
Every
great.
Slayer's OAV, golden. Manga I haven't read.
Have you seen all of the OAVs?
The vast majority of them, and every one I have seen, classic.
I don't think they live up to even the shadow of the original TV series.
The original TV series is pretty good, but OAVs, that's where it's at. That's where you get the high comedy, nonstop, hard-hitting action. The original TV series actually had some seriousness and some fantasy plot going on.
As did the Slayers motion picture.
As it did as well, yes, which is also awesome.
But I think that was better than every OAV.
Maybe, but Naga the Serpent was in it.
Yes.
Ah, you see.
And it had a different tone from every other OAV. It was almost completely different. It was like a third path.
Even so, the Slayers where Naga the Serpent is present are superior to the ones where she is not.
Again, I couldn't disagree more. As far as I'm concerned, the original Slayers is such a funny, good show.
I didn't say it wasn't.
Plus, you haven't even seen the rest of Slayers. You realize
I haven't seen the Next or the Tribe, but I saw the Slayers.
You realize that Next gets less serious, more funny, crazier, and then Try is even crazier still.
Well, I know about the Claire Bibble action, and I didn't say it's bad.
You only know about the Claire Bibble because I talk about it all the time. I reference the Claire Bibble more often than I masturbate.
Claire Bibble's pretty funny.
It is.
But
you really need to see. Anyway, regardless, I'm not going to get into this, but
I'm purposely trying to. I'm sabotaging your news.
The important parts here are that, unlike other franchises, it looks like Slayers has got Watanabe on board and the original studio to pretty much just
Shinichiro Watanabe?
Takashi Watanabe.
Okay, I was gonna say.
And it looks like they're not going to fuck this up.
Yeah, I don't see how you really could. They haven't.
Oh, you could.
Well, I guess they could, but they haven't made a bad Slayers yet. Even, whether you think, I think all Slayers is great, even though I like,
Well, I'll say this,
Naga the Serpent better.
A lot of people thought that the second half of Slayers Try really kind of went downhill. I kind of agree, but they tried to get too serious and also too crazy. It was kind of like the Gravitation had this problem too, where like the roller coaster of funny, serious got way too tall.
Derailed.
No, just way too tall.
Right.
Like, wow, that's a scene so sad I'm going to cry. Wow, Lena just blew up and in, and then a talking pig, and then something crazy happened.
Okay. But I guess that may or may not be true. Regardless, there have been of all the Slayers that has ever been made, a very small percentage of it is not good. So making more, good chance of being high quality.
Now, if you've never seen the original Slayers TV series, your homework is to go out and get it. Because
and if you need convincing,
that is anime history.
If you need it convincing, we did an episode on it.
Not only that, I'll point out one more time. Slayers, the original Slayers, is a show where when the heroes confront the bad villain who is going to do the dark ritual to release
your favorite thing in the world.
The big badness. All right, what does he do? He says, "Oh, you're here." Runs away, locks the door, does the ritual as fast as he can.
Yep.
And finishes.
Yep.
That is what I'm talking about.
Unlike,
right
in any other show, it would have been like the good guys come in, they talk to him, they disrupt the ritual, but then he manages to pull the ritual off anyway because the bad guys are dumb.
But also, this happens pretty early on, and there's a lot more stuff. Also, I think it was the first show where someone ever took one of those sweat bubbles and tried to kill someone else with it.
Yeah, it was good.
But anyway, things of the day. Penny Arcade readers are probably aware of this, as are Dig people, but in case you're not, or you missed it, or you just read the comic but not the rants, I gotta talk about this. A while ago, we talked about the random Garfield comic strip generator, which just takes 3 random Garfield panels and proved that randomly assembled Garfields are funnier than anything Jim Davis ever wrote in his sad, sorry life.
Oh my god, random Garfields are so awesome.
Well, we have found something, the internet has found something, that takes that to the nth degree. This is Garfield minus Garfield. And what I've learned from this is that if you take Garfield comics, God, I'm laughing just looking at these again, and just remove Garfield, but leave John in, they move from this level of not funny to a level of hilarity that I almost can't help cracking up looking at these.
See, actually, I liked them, especially that one with the pants. That was the best of the bunch, right? But I get more laughs out of the random Garfield.
Once again,
the thing is, the random Garfield can be hit or miss, but when it's a hit, it's a much bigger hit than this.
You know what? I patently disagree. The random Garfield
this
generator
is the day of conflicting taste, isn't
is
it?
okay. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's usually miss. You really have to go for a while to get a hit. But removing Garfield from Garfield is such comedy gold. I mean, the second to last one.
I think it's comedy silver or bronze.
This is comedy gold. The second to last one. It's John standing there and he's looking down with his, slanty-eyed, there's something wrong with my pants. And then a panel of him not doing anything. And he's still looking down at his pants. You could imply that he's looking at some sort of member. And then his eyes go wide, and that's the end. And I cannot express to you how funny this is.
It's a pretty funny one right there. It's the best of them.
I don't know. I think the implied suicide in the second one is also really good.
That's okay.
And the fervor with which he is reading the newspaper in the first one. This is comedy gold, and Scott has proven his lack of taste.
Anyway.
All right, so what do you got
So
for me?
because I haven't been interneting as much as I used to, I mean, I haven't gone to Google Reader. It's probably got like a 10,000 video game newses and 10,000 regular newses. I have no idea.
10,000 power curry.
Actually, let me go to it right now, and I'll tell you just how many video game newses I have not read.
Oh, just be on with it. People are waiting for us to talk about Katsucon.
It just says 1,000 plus because it's gone over the edge. Anyway, so because of that, I didn't have a news. So where do I go? Japanese television, the source of infinite things of the day, of course. Basically, what we have here is there was a product. I can't tell if this is a legitimate product or a joke. I think it's legitimate. And the product amounts to pretty much just a gold painted plastic bucket thing, right? And in each commercial, you have these really excited people show you the bucket, and then they give you 2 uses for the bucket thing. And like in the first commercial, like someone uses it as a stool, and then someone else uses it as like a little tiny bookshelf on their desk. And the second one, a guy uses it as an armrest, and a lady uses it as a vase. And it's like it's just a video, and they keep showing you more and more commercials, and in every commercial, you got 2 more uses for this crazy bucket thing. And actually, wow, this bucket is pretty useful. Of course, some of them they're stretching it with the uses of the bucket thing. But yeah, it's good, funny commercial stuff from Japan. You might want to fast forward through it a bit, but it's worth watching, I guess.
All right, anyway.
Katsucon
14.
Katsucon 14 is weird because I can sum this up real quick. I was sick most of the con, but I could tell from my experience when I was out and about, even though I was sick, that the con was super awesome. But I don't have much to say because I would spend most of my time in a hotel room in bed.
And sadly, because Scott was sick, I had to pretty much do double duty. Because, when we're at cons, kind of like when you do the show, there are things that I do and things that Scott does. And we kind of like the duties are split. Like if you look at the credits of Geeknights, it's like Rim, producer, Scott, web admin, and we like everything's split up. And at cons, like we do all this duty, but I pretty much had to do all of the con bullshit.
You had to do my duties.
I had to do the duties.
Was that what you left at the train station?
That's doo-doo! So, as a result, my view of Katsucon was more, we've talked about this a lot, actually, in other reviews of cons, how there's kind of a, most people go to cons and they only have one view, the view of the con goer, like the kid or the mom or the someone who goes to the con to enjoy themselves and go to a con and do all the con stuff. But there's all these other kind of ways to experience the con or perspectives on the conventions that are completely different. I mean, if you're a dealer, your con feels completely different. If you're a staffer, if you're a gopher, if you're the press, if you're the entertainment, all these things, all these ways to experience a con are kind of interesting. I kind of want to do a long-running series on getting people who have each one of these perspectives and just interviewing them about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have an event, but there are many different hats that you could wear at this event. You could be the con chair, you could be, everything Rim just said, and for each of those people, the same event is a different experience. It's like you go to a sporting event, right? And the majority of the people there are spectators. But what's the sporting event? What's the Super Bowl like for the camera guy? What's the Super Bowl like for the player? What's the Super Bowl like for the coach?
I mean,
what's the Super Bowl like for the owner?
I mean, think about the simple change in perspective. A lot of people experience this. You're in high school, college, whatever. You got to give a presentation. You're so used to sitting at your desk or wherever you sit. And, like, you've got this view, and a lot of times you're picking your nose, or you're playing your Game Boy or whatever, and you feel, like you're safe, like no one's really... But then you actually have to present something, or you do something, and you get up to the front of the room, and you stand where the professor normally stands, and the room looks totally different, and you realize, like, this totally different perspective on everything. And for conventions, it's that times a billion.
Yep. All right, let's talk about what happened to Katsucon.
Yeah, well, this Katsucon, as a result, we only have one perspective. Now, actually, probably next week or whenever we get a chance, I'm going to try to get some of our friends who were at this con. We'll talk about this a bit because a lot of them got a lot of different perspectives. And I think we're going to have to do a separate coverage of Katsucon from everyone else's perspective.
You want to try that?
Yeah, we definitely have to.
We can definitely kill some episodes off that way.
Because we have exactly one perspective of this con, and that is entertainment, staff, and nothing more.
Yes.
I didn't do jack or shit at Katsucon. I spent the whole time doing Geek Night stuff, preparing Geek Night stuff, announcing stuff in the video game room, running tournaments, fetching things,
Your orange juice is getting warm.
hiding in the con suite.
Yeah, but basically, at Katsucon, the last time we were there was mad video game room action, and basically this time,
because last year we were invited to kind of be like guest staff at Katsucon by Video
we're technically
Katsu.
staff.
Yes, now we are like full on staff, but that time we were like video game staff, and they didn't really make us do anything, and we only had like 2 panels to do.
Yeah, we have a weird status at Katsucon in which we're staff, but we don't. No one's our boss, even though technically, I guess the video game room is our boss. But they're not. They don't boss us around. We sort of do as we please, and people try to please us, but we're staff.
That's because we're weird. It's like a New York Anime Festival. We were guests, and we're kind of straddling that line now, where conventions actually give us things that are unexpected.
Yeah. But anyway,
but Katsucon, and I think the funniest thing was that we brought our own personal staff this year. Like, we brought the front row crew, our staff, to take care of business for us. We had roadies, we had everything. And
all we really needed was Pete to help us carry the stuff.
Well, we used him in the video game room because actually, Pete and Katsu,
well, we didn't use him in the video game room. The video game room used him.
We foisted them off. We said, all right, you guys are going to be staff for the video game room to take care of all the stuff that we would have taken care of last year. Running tournaments, all that stuff. But they don't really have to do anything. They could have gotten away with doing nothing. But I think they've realized that there's something about being just that one step beyond, like just past that velvet rope. They actually spent the majority of their Katsucon being staff and actually doing work.
Well, I mean, look at it's. If I was Pete in that or Katsu in that position, I would have done the same thing, right? You're at this convention, okay? You've been to anime conventions before.
You've
lots
been to
of
like
them.
20, so
and the things that go on at the conventions are not too exciting for you. There were no really events that were really exciting for them, right? You go to the dealer's room once or twice, right? All your friends are either sick in bed, running events, or an artist alley. Maybe you can go to your friends' events.
Yeah, I mean, God, I didn't get to hang out with any of my friends at Katsucon, except, I ran away.
I said
hid.
basically hi to everyone once. Like, I said hi to Ananth once, hi to Nuri once. It was just like, hi, I'm sick, hi, I'm sick.
The only moment of respite I got in the entire con was Saturday night.
Respite.
It's respite. After all our business was done, I took Ananth and one of our listeners and Nuri. I actually forget the listener's name, but you were totally cool. There's a reason I bought you a drink instead of blowing you off. And we got drinks, and we hid in the bar, and we actually had a conversation.
Oh my God.
It was crazy.
But yeah, you're in that position where, what are you going to do at this con? You have a staff badge, but no one can boss you around.
Well, they could if they wanted to.
They could have, but they don't, right? You're in the video game room, I guess, nominally. You play a bunch of video games, and then you just go like, huh? And someone comes up to you and they say, hey, do you want to work? And it's like, huh, I could. This is Pete's words I'm taking here, So he basically was standing there and he said, huh, I have 2 choices. I could watch other people work or work. And I mean, he's gonna be here for 3 days. His choices are stand there and be kind of bored or work. So of course you're gonna work.
Now, the real moral here is
working
this.
at a con is kind of fun.
If you've ever thought about, either you're getting bored with anime conventions or fan conventions in general, or you've thought about volunteering but never done it, I'm going to say this. Being staff at an anime convention is a crazy amount of work. I mean, we trivialize it because we've been doing this sort of stuff for so long that even when we do a lot of work at a con, it doesn't feel like a lot of work.
I've never felt like I've done a lot of work at a con ever because it's so easy, or I guess we're really good at it.
Well, because it's really fun. That's the thing. It is so fun to be staff at a convention. I mean, you think, I'm going to have to work. You standing there selling registrations to a con like Otakon. You get to meet 4,000 or 5,000 people who are going to the con. You talk to every one of them for a minute while you give them their badge, And that's kind of cool. And those people actually seem to have a really good time. And the way to become a staffer at a con is to either be an entertainer or start out as a volunteer or a gopher. And a bunch of our listeners actually were volunteers at Katsucon this year.
Yeah.
And every one of them said they had an awesome time and someday they want to be staff.
Yeah, being a volunteer / gopher can suck in some ways because you don't get the privileges of staff as much,
But that's how, if you're not going to be an entertainer or
if you're not awesome in some other way where you can just become real staff, like ding, then that's the path you must take.
And I'll point out that there wasn't actually a ding. I mean, we're staff at all these conventions, and that's because we've been doing panels since 2002.
Yeah.
Continuously.
It's not ding.
Do you know how many panels we've done at freaking anime conventions?
Too many. But anyway, so yeah, Katsucon. Let's do a little chronology, just a quick one, right?
All right, so Thursday morning, we get on the road.
We're going to start Thursday morning, get on the road. We load the car, we get on the road.
Yep.
We got 3 people, which is good. One of us is very strong, which helps because we have a lot of heavy shit.
Well, I've been lifting weights.
No, Pete, not you.
God, we had this heavy-ass bin full of Geeknight stuff, and we got all our audio equipment and everything, and we can't carry this thing. Last year it was even heavier, and we could barely carry it, and we're like, look how heavy it is, blah. Pete picks the damn thing up like over his head.
Of course, even he had, when we actually started carrying it long distances, even he had to, stop and rest just because of the cumbersomeness of it, and such.
We drove to Virginia, took the metro in. If you ever go to Katsucon...
Maryland, not Virginia.
Oh, yeah, we could have driven to Virginia. Other people drove to Virginia.
That's a little far to drive.
Yeah, but you do not want to drive to Katsucon directly. The parking is insane. There's no reason to.
Yeah, driving into Washington, D.C. sucks. Parking in Washington, D.C. sucks.
It's cheaper and faster.
Yep.
In fact, parking is free at Katsucon.
We met some people or we saw some people at a rest stop that were obviously con goers. I think I recognized them from other cons, just the way they looked.
And they actually, we
saw them at the hotel check-in when and we were carrying heavy things from the metro. And
we also had the worst case scenario. We got to the platform as a train left.
Yeah, so we actually, we took the metro as slow as it possibly could go. Carrying a heavy thing, delaying us a lot. And we basically got to the hotel the same time as some other people who drove in.
Well, actually, we got there quite a bit before them because they were in line quite a bit behind us.
Oh, wow, awesome.
And they left the rest stop well before we did.
And they weren't carrying heavy things like we were.
Yes. But, take the metro. Good God.
All right, so we take the metro in. It sucked to carry the heavy shit, but we got it done despite sickness.
Yep.
We did the same thing on the way back, a little bit better. It still sucks, and we still should get a better carrying bucket or something with wheels, maybe. I don't fucking know. We need to do something about it. Anyway, get to the con, check in, video game rooms, looking good.
Of course, I think this is the most telling thing about why Katsucon is so awesome because Game Katsu, the people who run the gaming at Katsucon, are effectively a completely separate organization. Like they work.
We've said this last Katsucon
entirely
episode.
Autonomously. They all know their shit. They're like convention badasses. They're even on their own putting together their own gaming con. We're going to talk about that once it gets closer. Yeah. We're probably going to be there doing stuff because it looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, we talked about all this in the last Katsucon episode, but the arcade cabinets from Videotopia made a comeback, and they were as awesome as ever, most notably Virtua Racing, best racing game ever created.
Yes, if you want to see a bunch of pictures of us wheeling these things in and setting them up, look in my Flickr. I got a lot of them.
Yeah. Also, Satan's Hollow made a notable appearance.
I got real good at Satan's Hollow. We'll talk about that.
I played Satan's Hollow, and I did kind of well, but I sucked compared on the high score list. Then I'm like, oh, the shield. Right.
We'll talk about Satan's Hollow because Peter did some awesome things. But I think what's most telling about how awesome the Game Katsu staff are is that there was an email in the staff thing kind of before Katsucon, like, all right, guys, so you think the video game room will be open by, I don't know, noon on Friday? And the response was, if it's not ready to go Thursday night, something is seriously wrong.
And it was ready to go, pretty much.
By like 9 p.m. Thursday night, the game room, other than Nintendo's display, which took a while for them to set up, was done. We were playing video games.
Yeah, Nintendo at this convention, you gotta understand, they had mad Professor Layton marketing going on.
They had people on Segways
They had
going
people
around.
on Segways rolling around the dealer's room.
They had people wearing gigantic DSs, and you could play puzzles from the game on them.
They had this thing that was like projecting onto the floor and it was a touch interactive floor thing advertising this game in the room that had the
Every
arcade
time
cabinets.
I saw a little kid looking at this thing and enjoying himself, I charged over, jumped on it, made everything scatter, and the kids would always clap and scream and go, yay!
Yep. So basically, there was Mad Professor Layton going on, and the thing is I was going to buy Professor Layton even before I got to the con. And then when I got to the con and saw this marketing, I'm like, you're making me want to not buy it just to punish you for having all this marketing. But I bought it anyway, and we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, but the video game room was hard fucking core, as always. The bag check, which was a difficult issue last year,
Flawless
ran
this year.
perfectly. There were no problems at all.
There was a little bit of a line at some busy times, but that was it. And
Yeah.
it was a managed and reasonable line.
Yeah, and the Rock Band was going, the DDR was going, the Smash Brothers Brawl was going.
It was going a little bit.
It was going a lot.
I avoided it.
I also avoided it, but it was pretty rocking. There was a staff and cool people only party at some point where everyone just played Brawl.
Yeah, basically, like, a webcomic artist had brought it and provided it, and they treated it specially as it should be treated, because it needs special treatment when you get a pre-release game like that. But they handled it very well. And the only thing I could say bad about the video game room was that there was a sort of a lack of quality selection in the sort of console room, but whatever. I mean, what kind of selection do you want?
Well, the thing is, the people who made that complaint would probably have also complained about Otakon or Ubercon or any other con, because I went around that video game room and there was plenty to play, and every console had a lot of people at all hours. I mean, Katsucon, remember, is 24/7 con. There were people in that video game room
at 3 a.m. on Saturday.
Enough people to where you had to wait in a line to play Rock Band.
Oh, you had to wait in line to play Rock Band at like 4 a.m. on freaking Friday.
Oh, it was hardcore.
I didn't play it even once.
We had a pretty cool setup in the room. Unlike last year, we actually had a professional setup, so it was really, really easy to play music and generally entertain the room.
Yep. And it wasn't, there wasn't this clash of loud musics competing with each other, making everyone deaf either. It was very much better setup, and we didn't have those giant projectors to the sides of us.
Yeah, we didn't get as many projectors this year at Katsucon as we did last year.
What was that game that they were playing? Not Puyo.
Poppin' Music.
Poppin' Music.
Poppin' Music is like the stupidest goddamn thing in the world.
Poppin' Music is fucking stupid. That's all I gotta say. All right, so enough about the video game room. Most of what we have to talk about Katsucon is the events that we ran. Let's talk about them, and then let's be done with it.
Yeah, well, not just... all right. First, let's talk a bit about what we did in the video game room, because these are the things that were the unscripted things. Last year, too, and I think we're going to do this forever. We're in the video game room a lot. Not so much this year because Scott was sick, and I was running around dealing with 6 panels, but... We had the Atari 7800 with us, and we had all these arcade cabinets. And last year, randomly, usually at like 2 or 3 in the morning, we just say on the microphone to everyone in the room, "All right, bitches, Street Fighter 1 tournament, let's go."
I played actually at one point during the con. I just remembered this. I played Street Fighter 1 single player. And I sort of figured it out, and I went like without losing for a very long time against the computer. And then, like, a guy came up and challenged me, and I beat him. And another guy came up and challenged me, and I beat him.
Were they playing as Ken? Because Ken couldn't duck. There was a problem with the controller.
I think I was Ken.
So you couldn't Hadouken?
Nah, I was Hadoukening.
Maybe it wasn't broken at that point.
Maybe, but I was freaking not sucking at every other Street Fighter. And just on my first try, 1 token, I beat a whole lot of people in Street Fighter 1.
But, we had like the Rampart tournament last year, and this year we did not disappoint. Despite being tired, I ran, and this went so well, like I cannot express to you how well it went. An Outlaw tournament. Outlaw being probably the best game to ever come out in the Atari 2600.
Maybe.
The best 2-player direct versus game.
That's for sure.
It's just 2 cowboys fighting. So I announced
They really need to make a modern remake of Outlaw.
I announced a single elimination game. A lot of people signed up.
We should make an Outlaw Half-Life mod.
Not only did I run the tournament to completion, not only was it amazing, and not only did we have a large crowd of spectators, because something like that is cool to watch, I did not have to even coach these people to trash talk each other. The trash talk was excellent. I cannot applaud you people more. And furthermore, a good half the people in the tournament were already good at Outlaw.
Well, there were these two guys who were brothers that had played Outlaw in their youth. I think these guys were Otakon related also in some way.
Yes, it came down the final
I forget
round,
their names though, but I've seen them before at conventions.
But there were some good people.
They were really good, and they were the final two. And
yes, the
one of them
final
won.
round came down to brother versus brother. We milked the shit out of that.
Yeah, they beat me. We came close, but he took me out in the semifinal.
Now Peter, he was staff in the video game room for much of the con, and he decided to go one step further because we had the music set up, and he had some metal with him. So he ran I think it was midnight or 2 a.m. metal hour, and during that metal hour, he ran a Satan's Hollow tournament.
Oh man.
He advertised it all day on the Satan's Hollow machine, and a lot of people showed up. I am told it was epic.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I was in bed.
Also, Pete being somewhat of a sadist, we had E.T., the Atari game. We put it up a lot because a lot of people were interested.
Well, it's a curiosity.
We kept joking. Hey, let's run an E.T.
I have
tournament.
to say again, as E.T. is a bad game, but everyone acts like E.T. is the worst game ever. It is just a terrible game. It is not the worst game ever.
Anyway, so we kept joking. Yeah, we're going to run an E.T. tournament. And some people would go, haha, and some people would go, really when? And those really when people were a little scary. But eventually, Pete just decided, all right, I'm doing it. And he ran an ET tournament.
How did that work?
He just had them all play. High score wins.
All right.
And not only did a lot of people compete, not only was it quite the spectator event, but this little girl who was not even conceived when ET was shredded and buried in the desert kicked everyone's asses.
Wow, did she know how to play? Or was she just randomly going around?
She figured it out because it's weird how little kids seem to have much less trouble just figuring out old video games than adults do.
That's for sure.
I mean, if I hand someone my age the controller to Atari, they fall in the pole, they get out of the hole, they fall in the hole, get out of the hole, fall in the hole, say fuck this and walk away. Little kids, much like when I was a little kid, will sit there until they figure it out, and then they'll become the best little kid ever at it.
That's why we had the mad skills of those NES games like Bionic Commando and Mega Man 2.
God, I can beat Bionic Commando in 28 minutes straight through.
I can beat Mega Man 2 pretty much as, I guess, close to as fast as it can be beaten reasonably without some sort of emulator.
On easy.
No, on normal. This is pretty much normal and American mode.
Nah. All right. But anyway, aside from that, we ran a bunch of events. I'd say about 68% of them succeeded.
Yeah, something like that. It wasn't total success across the board. It was actually kind of weird.
Let's talk. Well, let's
do chronological on Friday.
Chronological, or we could do an order of success, reverse success.
No, let's do chronological.
All right. So Friday was actually a big night.
All
for
our
us.
events were actually, except for one, were late. So we had these empty days and then a bunch of events. An empty day, bunch of events.
So first,
and then we had no events Sunday.
We had the anime match game, which is a perennial favorite. We run it at every con we go to. I think we're going to be running it at Otakon. There's been some interest from events as opposed to panels.
Oh man, but yeah,
because we run this thing pretty solidly at this point. We had all new questions. They were a huge success.
Yep.
The guests on the panel were absolutely amazing. It was like the best match game we've ever run.
It was the best. It wasn't the best attended match game, even though it was very, very well attended. It wasn't. I think we had more people at New York Anime Festival, but it was, I guess, game-wise, in terms of the quality of the panel, the quality of the questions, the quality of the answers, the quality of the presentation, the best running of the anime match game we have ever performed.
Plus, if you
the only thing I can say is I wish it would have been 2 hours, and we need a new contestant selection mechanism.
Yes, we do, because I'm sorry,
I thought of a few, and I think we're gonna try them out next time.
Because I'm sorry, contestants who were on the show, if you're listening, it was cool and all, but you guys couldn't come up with funny answers.
Yeah, it's like you contestants, you were cool people, so you were actually a little bit more knowledgeable about anime than some former contestants, so you're not too bad, because what the guy said odangos, right? You knew the right?
That was actually too hardcore for some of the guests.
Right. So, and
the audience, who I had to actually explain what a fucking odango was, you people.
Yeah, but they were not very good at matching the panel. They didn't seem to, it's like if I was it was obvious, especially on one particular question, who is the hottest girl in anime? It was obvious what answer was going to get you a zillion points. Obvious.
Now,
anyone who was actually conscious and understood what was going on and was paying attention would have gotten it.
it's kind of like when we were at New York Anime Festival and we had the original voice of Speed Racer
Yep.
on the panel.
And we said, name an old anime. And the guy did not write Speed Racer. It's like, hello.
yes,
Hello.
God.
What? Yeah, so
But actually, you're talking about attendance. If you count percentage of total con attendees, it was probably equally well attended because there were a lot more people at New York Anime Festival. But
I don't think there were more people in New York. Oh, I guess technically
there were 6,000 and some people at Katsucon.
Yeah, but that's 6,000 and some people at Katsucon were there from like Thursday to Monday, but the people at New York Anime Festival were mostly just there Saturday only and then gone.
Yes, but that's when we ran our events.
That's true. So it's a tough call.
The other tricky thing is that usually we run the match game during the day because we've learned from doing all these cons, and Katsucon has proved it. When what a panel is about has very little to do with how it is attended, as opposed to what room it's in, what time it's at, and what else is scheduled at that time.
And what it's named.
Yes.
On what it's named on the handheld schedule. The description in the con book means almost nothing.
But the nice thing was, because we ran this match game late at night, we were able to be a lot more risque with the questions. And let me tell you, were the guests a lot more risque with their
the very
answers.
first question and the very best answer of the entire match game, Naruto pregnancy test.
Oh my God. And the fact that kept coming up for the rest of the night.
It came up one more time. It was good.
Oh man, that was great. I'm liking running I like this, having like the daytime events are the get a whole bunch of people and do a standard panel. But I like these late night kind of eerie events where
I love those late night eerie events. I think next Katsucon, I'm going to come up with some new panels. I got this Katsucon, seeing how things went, even though maybe part because of my delirium and because the only thing that
Wait a minute. You planning panels based on your delirium is like Kazuo Koike writing manga.
Well, because the only thing I experienced at the con was thinking while laying in bed, sleeping, eating, and running panels pretty much with a little bit of Virtua Racing mixed and Street Fighter 1 mixed in, right? I was thinking of pretty much just about the panels. And
also, there was a turnabout, but we'll talk about that Saturday.
But I think now I have the formula for the awesome panels of the future, and I think it is going to be quite awesome.
But anyway, so right after that, we had The Late Show, which... this was a first for us. This was probably our most ambitious attempt yet. But sadly, because it was super late at night, there were a lot of people in the audience, but not nearly as many as we had hoped for.
Well, I think we were also competing with a concert, and yeah, there were not as many people as we had hoped for, but there were enough people.
11 o'clock to 1 o'clock is a better time slot for a bigger con.
Yes,
like at Otakon, that would have been one of those packed things. But at Katsucon, especially with the dance, which unlike other cons is actually awesome.
Yep.
We had some trouble.
We were competing with the concert, not the dance.
There was the dance like right after it.
Yeah, but remember, we're also competing like with the late night video game room at Otakon.
And with sleeping.
Yes. But anyway, yeah, I sort of had like a little plan for like the start of the event, and I was sick, whatever.
Well, there's the full deal. We were sick and tired, but we were okay. We were set to go.
Sick and tired.
But there were some logistical concerns with the guests we were to have, and as a result, we kind of had to stand up on stage and delay and cover for someone for a little while.
And then the clever intro that I had come up with like an hour previously couldn't be used because the guest wasn't right there at the beginning and I couldn't rework it and I was sick. So
But I'll leave it at this. We had Stevie B for most of the show, but for the first half, we had Greg Ayers. And let me tell you, I really want to do a full-on, better, more well-attended late show with Greg Ayers and Steve Bennett again. At least, because Greg Ayers is a pretty damn cool dude, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, I didn't know much about him at all before, doing this show.
He put off peeing to be on the late show.
Yeah, big thanks to him because, he's friends with Johnny Young Bosch, and he was there at the con, Mr. Power Ranger. And he didn't go to his friend's concert, which was happening in the other room, and he put off peeing just to be on our late show as, he had promised and as was scheduled. And he didn't have to do that. He could have been an asshole, but he came to do our not super well attended, but okay attended late show anyway. And he stayed there and kept answering our questions.
Yeah, we didn't actually record it, partly because we were incredibly tired and we just didn't have time to set all that up. And also because there was a lot of visual components to it.
Yes.
But it was quite an interesting talk for anyone who attended.
Yeah, I kept asking him questions, and he was answering them in a totally cool, open, honest way, like I would have. And I don't agree with some of the opinions I learned he has, but that doesn't matter. He was pretty cool, and he said cool stuff.
Yep, and then he finally went off to pee after drinking much of our quote-unquote orange juice.
It was orange juice.
And then the rest of the night was with the depths of Stevie B. And we've talked, I don't need to sing the praises of having Stevie B at your event at a convention, but we've talked about him before. He's a pretty interesting dude, and we went well into the night learning about Civil War reenactment and the hat story.
Yep.
And I think that was a good close for Friday night. The people who stuck around to the end seemed to really, really enjoy it, more so than I expected them to.
Yep, and also Kate, she sang her song.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
We had our musical act planned, and it was funny because you could see the audience. Like, Kate's going out, and Kate's a really, she's a she knows how to entertain. She learned how to do this stuff in school.
Yeah, it's pretty much like we learned computers in school. She learned singing and dancing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So we break for the musical act. And Kate comes out, and you see the audience going, some girl, this is like some karaoke bullshit. And then she starts with the first verse of Gotta Knock a Little Harder, and you could see the entire audience go, holy shit.
They're like, what? A real musical act? What? I didn't realize this was going on. What the fuck?
So despite being tired and having a lot of logistical issues, we learned a lot, and I think we can pull off this event times 1,000 in the future.
Oh, definitely.
So stay tuned for late night Geek Nights or late night Katsucon or late night something new and improved in the future. Because we figured this shit out, is what I can say.
Yeah, one other thing I had to say about that event is we had Uncle Yo there, right? And we promised that we would let him do his, his anime otaku stand-up comedy for a portion of the show.
There were a lot of timing concerns. We had to cut a lot out of the show.
Yeah, we had to cut stuff out of the show. We made an itinerary for the show, like, this is how long we'll do things, and that totally got blown out of the water. So
yes, well, you realize I know a lot about doing panels and giving speeches, and I know a lot about doing a radio show. I didn't know jack shit about plotting out and staging any sort of stage performance as opposed to talk.
Yeah.
And
sit there and talk for the allotted time is pretty much the limit of our abilities.
Yep. We had Emily down there, she was cueing us because she actually took charge of a lot of our back end problems and fixed a lot of things for us. But she was writing, 15 minutes left for this. You got to get him off the stage. Stop him from talking so you can have Uncle Yo. This is coming up. And writing on the whiteboards from the match game. And that pretty much saved our asses.
Yeah, it's like I saw Uncle Yo sitting on the side, with his box of, props. And I felt real bad. I'm like, I promised you time on the show, but Steve Bennett is still talking about his hat and I can't stop him. And but then we got him in at the last minute.
And I'll just say this. Uncle Yo is kind of he's kind of new on the anime circuit. And unlike the Geek Comedy Tour, which they were actually pretty funny.
Yeah, but they weren't so geeky with their comedy.
Well, no, here's what they do.
They were geeks doing normal stand-up comedy.
I don't want to disparage them because they put on a really good show.
Yeah, I laughed at them. They were
I
good
laughed
stuff.
hysterically at a few of those jokes, especially the second to last guy.
They were on before Anime Match Game, I think, right?
Yes, yes. But what they do, and this is not in any way going to speak about the level of their comedy because they're good, but obviously they're picking the low-hanging fruit of doing shows because doing a normal stand-up act at an anime con is real easy to get a lot of people to really enjoy.
Yeah, it's
yourself.
they weren't professional. I'm talking, they weren't George Carlin Lewis Black level.
But they were better than a lot of comedy acts I've seen live in clubs before.
They were 10 times better than open mic night. At
they were
the
good.
local joint.
But Uncle Yo does something really different. He actually does topical humor about anime and manga. Yep. And we saw him before, he performed at the New York Anime Festival, and we talked to him. We promised him this short gig at Katsucon, and you can see him improving. His set at Katsucon was noticeably better than his set at New York Anime. He's getting better, he's getting good, and we're really trying hard to get him a full-on set at Kineticon and Otakon.
Yeah, I mean, other podcasts may have said that, they saw him at New York Anime Festival and they thought he was lame and they didn't laugh. And, I'll be honest, I have nothing against the guy. I met him. He's cool. He's sociable. He's a nice person, and he's trying hard. And such, but I didn't laugh at him. I didn't think he was funny that much at New York Anime Festival either. Maybe, it's just not my thing, kind of. And also, my number, actually, the only gripe I actually have with him is that he pronounces a lot of things incorrectly. But, no matter what you can say about the guy, he got the audience really likes it.
The audience was going crazy.
So whether, you think he's funny or not, it worked. And even if I didn't think he was funny, and actually he was kind of funny this time compared to the New York Anime Festival time.
I really liked his bit about like shonen manga versus shoujo manga. That was a really well put together bit.
Yeah, that bit I actually laughed at, and regardless of that, even if I thought he was a bastard and I thought all his comedy was lame, which I don't, I would let him on any panel I was doing. I'd give him time because freaking it makes the audience laugh. And if he's associated with me, that makes me look good too.
So if you're at a con and you see Uncle Yo, it's worth your while to check him out.
Yeah.
But moving on to Saturday. Now, this is the panel. I submitted this because, I handle all the PR producer kind of stuff. So I get all the panels at cons. I do all that business.
It's our only morning panel. Well, it was a noon panel, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Noon Saturday is apparently a great time for panels.
Oh, definitely. But I put this panel in. I didn't even tell Scott about it until after I put it in. And he's like, what?
I thought you didn't put it in. I thought you said the con gave it to you.
No, I put it in because I knew.
Oh, you suck. You didn't.
And then I had to lie to make sure you do the panel. So I put in this panel, anime you should see.
So generic and blah.
Well, my thinking was, we're badasses at this. I've been doing panels forever. And my panels are almost always super well attended and super awesome. And people always super, super, super like them. So I realized we could do a panel like this trivially with no effort, no preparation.
Yeah, because but it seemed like, anime you should see. I mean, come on, you go to an anime con and you go to a panel where people say, this is the anime you should watch. I mean, what kind of...
But you know what? The importance of a panel like that is that most people who go to anime cons have not seen a lot of anime yet. They don't have local anime clubs. They have no real way to know what's good, what's not, and they don't watch a lot because, a lot of things are bad and it's hard to get the good stuff. Mm-hmm. So much of the panel, much of the audience had never seen Cowboy Bebop or Escaflowne.
Yeah, we asked,
Trigun.
who here has seen Cowboy Bebop? And about half, maybe a little 49%, something like that, had seen the show, and the other half hadn't. And I'm like, what the hell? You're such an anime fan that you come to an anime convention for an entire weekend, and you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop.
See, now you can't malign these people because they came to the anime convention because they like anime and they want to learn more about it. So you can't be a snob and say, all right, you shouldn't have those
I can't,
panels.
But think about that. That's it's so crazy.
No, because, think of it. You just got into anime. You saw two good shows.
But people didn't just get into anime. If you're going to anime cons, you have to be into anime for a while.
A lot of people just get into anime, and then like a year later, they see, oh, there's anime cons.
You know what? That's it. Next con, we're going to ask how long people have been anime fans for. I got to figure that this is what I have to learn.
I asked that at a lot of panels I run in other conventions, and most people at most conventions I talk to, it's their first anime con, and they've been watching anime for maybe a year.
Wow. Anyway.
But this panel, we need panels like this because a lot of these people, and a lot of people talk to us afterward, they went out and watched this stuff, and they never would have thought to watch Cowboy Bebop, but we told them about it. We said it was good, and now they're going to go out and see it, and they're going to kind of step up their anime fandom and learn more and spread out and branch out. And we basically just talked about all the must-see amazing anime out there. We got the audience up. It was real kind of informal.
Yeah, all we did was sort of sit around and talk about anime we liked for an hour.
Talk about a standing room only. No one wanted us to leave the room. We could have stayed in there for 3 more hours and no one would have left panel.
I couldn't have stayed there for 3 more hours of my disease.
But the audience could have. That panel was like, people fucking loved it.
And then we took this bit that we had prepared for the late show that we didn't use at the late show because we ran out of time. I'm
not going to say what it was because we're using this bit again at Otakon.
And then we sort of just ham-fisted the bit into this unrelated panel just to kill time, and it totally worked.
Yeah, there's something good about when you finish your event. One, the best part is Nick, the T-1000 RoboCop.
Okay, I gotta say this now, right? Most of the time we go to conventions, big or small, right? Kineticon, all they really did for us at Kineticon, was they gave us an itinerary and they would check in on the panels a little bit, right? At Otakon, we have to check in with them. We have to do our own panels. No one comes to help us. The tech people you can't even find find them really. It's
That'll probably change this year.
Oh
but
yeah,
we'll
it's definitely. I'm not saying it's the
Well,
way.
no, there's a lot of news about panels at Otakon this year, but we'll talk about that next week.
But the thing is that pretty much as panelists at many conventions, the conventions don't help you out that much. They might not even make sure you run the panel. I've never even had anyone like really come and make sure that I was running the panel.
Well, remember, the first 3 panels I ran at Anime Cons were literally the people who were supposed to run the panel weren't there. So I walked up to the front of the room, pretended I was them, and ran the panel.
Yep. At Katsucon, mostly thanks to Nick Ferris and his crew, in the live events organization there at Katsucon. They were so checking up on us, making sure everything was working, making sure we had everything we needed, coming into the panel room when there were 5 minutes left and holding up. They had the big number 5 written on an orange piece of paper on the back of all their binders.
I gotta tell you, that dude, Nick Ferris, he would appear out of nowhere. Like, if you had a problem, like you're standing in a room, like, all right, there might be too big a crowd. I need a problem with this. It'd be like, do you need any help for him? This guy was like the badass of running con
Dude
panels.
was everywhere, making sure everything was working just fine.
And I just got to say, the thing about Katsucon, dude actually was recognized for being a badass at the staff party by the senior staff.
Oh, yeah. Dude, total badass, total amazing. I mean, as a panelist, there is nothing that is better for you, nothing you could appreciate more than the staff who are sort of handling the logistics of panels at the convention, sort of making sure your shit is good and checking up on you. Even if you don't need anything, just them being there is like, okay, shit's going right. You're in the right place. It's the right time. Just that reassurance is all you need, and they provided it more than any con ever.
But that event went crazily, awesomely well. Like, standing ovation,
surprisingly well. I wasn't expecting much out of it yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if every single person in that room listens to Geeknights after that. Because
if they connected it to the Geeknights.
Yeah, but we got to get a smaller banner because our banner is a little too big to carry around.
Yeah, get it. We need a smaller one that's good for tables at the panels.
Yes, but then later that day, we ran Challenger on Fire. This was our 3rd attempt at running Challenger on Fire.
I think we're retiring Challenger on Fire.
I think it can be pulled off.
I don't think it's worth it.
I'm talking to Otakon.
I don't want to have it bomb at Otakon.
No, I think it could, because the thing is, all it needs is it needs a very large audience.
It doesn't work without a large audience. That's true.
And with a large audience, pursuant to that, we would need. I mean, we expect. We got like 2 guests from the con. I realize now that what we actually need are like 20 guests from the con and like 20 pre-selected con goers who have taken a test to prove that they have the minimum skills it takes to be on this event.
Yep.
This has to be like a main event or it can't be done. But we've got all the technology together. The only thing we're lacking is a con that is willing to take a risk on giving us the full deal.
Yeah.
I think we can pull it off. We've learned everything you can learn about running this event.
I think the biggest problem with this event is that the name Challenger on Fire, right, is that's what you have to get people to come to your event.
Oh, we're renaming it.
Yeah, I don't think people you see Challenger on Fire, they go, what the fuck is that? And they don't come. And I think...
Well, no, the sad thing is... Actually,
that's true. That's right.
Challenger on Fire, no one came. We're like, shit. But we ran it an hour early because of a rescheduling. So we ran it to a very, very small audience. It was laid back. It was really fun. People enjoyed it, but it was not the event it should be.
No.
I consider it a failure. But right at the end...
All our friends showed up.
Not just all our friends.
And all our listeners.
But, all the people who had seen all our other panels and realized that the stuff we were doing was good, they all kind of came into the room expecting Challenger on Fire. And we had to announce to all of you who came in, Challenger on Fire is now over because you didn't check the con errata and realize that we were rescheduled.
Yeah. I definitely think what we should do at cons, right? If we can somehow control our panel scheduling, right? I want to have early in the con, I want to run panels that'll get lots of people, right? Then impress upon them that it's us doing these panels and let them know about the panels we're doing later. And later in the con, do awesome panels. And those people, we can sort of get them to attach to us and come to all of our events when they recognize that we're awesome.
Because it already worked. I mean, the Gekiga panel, just because it was late at night, probably wouldn't have a lot of people, but...
It was super late at night.
Almost everyone.
I literally was sick in bed, got up out of bed, walked to the Gekiga panel, walked back into bed.
almost everyone who went to that panel was someone who came because they had seen another one of our panels.
And we had told them at that panel that we were doing the Gekiga panel.
And let me tell you, that panel was amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to do the Gekiga panel too many more times. I think it needs a little change up. We're going to do a little something different. But that was actually not... I was sick. I had just gotten out of bed and was going back to bed. I didn't say half the stuff I usually say at the Gekiga panel. It was a pretty... poor showing.
Well, the thing is, considering
in terms of presentation, but I think it was a success anyway.
Oh, it went super well. The audience freaking loved it. And also, I would think that if we ran it again at Otakon, I think it would go over really well. And I'm going to see about that.
I don't want to run it again we already ran it at Otakon. I don't want to run
however, it is very different now.
Yeah, I think we should change it to something else at Otakon. Maybe we should make it like a sanctuary only panel or something like that.
Sanctuary, maybe we'll see. But suffice to say, we ran the Gekiga panel, and it was super, super awesome.
Yeah. Now I gotta mention this, right? There was a guy when we were at the Anime You Should See panel, right? We thought, we didn't know where we were going with that panel. It was kind of freeform, right? So we were thinking, hey, what we'll do is we'll bring people up, we'll ask them what shows they've seen and what shows they like, and then we'll tell them what shows are good for them to see that they haven't seen. And we'll just do that to a bunch of people, and that'll be what we'll do, right? Well, we brought up one guy, this bearded guy.
Totally randomly.
Rim was like, we need a guinea pig. A bunch of people raised their hands. Rim picked bearded guy.
I was like, you.
You, bearded guy.
All right, bearded guy. I forget your name. You were pretty damn cool and
let me tell you how cool bearded guy was. Sorry.
One, bearded guy had seen all the anime that's worth seeing already.
Right, now, wait. Let me tell you. All right. Oh, my God. First of all, sorry, bearded guy. I don't know your name, and you'll have to email it to us. All right? I know you're listening, by the way. Bearded guy comes up. We talk to him just a little bit, and that sets off the Anime You Should See panel, and we don't need any other guinea pigs because he's so awesome, right?
Of course, we're like, what kinds of shows do you watch? Expecting, some fan to say, I watch Bleach or whatever. Any names half the shows that we were going to talk about.
Right. Secondly, the guy comes to the Gekiga panel, right? At the Gekiga panel, I mentioned the Will Eisner, of course, as you must, right?
Because, we're talking about,
we're talking about the god of Japanese comics.
Like,
and then,
like Gekiga was to manga what graphic novel is to comic.
Sort of, in a way. But... and he asked, was this sort of like, the R. Crumb deal? And I'm like, yes, it's sort of like that. But he knew the deal. And when I mentioned Will Eisner, he threw at us a button with the spirit on it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Who at an anime convention has a button with the spirit on it other than a cool person?
Other than bearded guy. So bearded guy, my hat is off to you.
Bearded guy had friends too, right? Now get
this. And they were all pretty cool.
Bearded guy is even more awesome. You ready for how awesome bearded guy is? Okay, so bearded guy, I'm talking to him after the Gekiga panel. I'm about to I'm basically at the stairs, ready to go back to the room and go to bed. And he's telling me how he has a cyber cafe. He owns a cyber cafe in Virginia somewhere. And he plays Geeknights on the radio in the cyber cafe every night. How awesome is that? So hello, cyber cafe people in Virginia.
Yes.
What's up?
I think...
Look at bearded guy who's over probably by the counter making coffee or whatever. That's bearded guy. He's cool.
Now, bearded guy, I think we want to get him on the show. I just want to talk to him.
Yeah.
Maybe as a guest host even.
Guy is way cool, dude. I don't know. Knows Will Eisner, goes to Katsucon, comes to our panels, has Cyber Cafe, plays Geeknights at Cyber
Cafe.
Cafe.
Has the spirit pin cocked, loaded, and ready to throw.
Had more of them. I was like, do you want this back? And he's like, no, I got more. All right. Doesn't get much cooler than that.
All right. I hate to say this. We've gone long a bit, I think.
Quite long.
So I think what we're going to do is this weekend, we're going to finish our Katsucon coverage and put it up in the Wednesday feed. So consider, because Scott's still coughing, we all still have a lingering sickness, and my Swiss steaks are almost done. But
oh, right. We haven't eaten dinner yet.
I have not even talked about half of what I have to say for Katsucon. So
I don't really have that much more to say because I was sick in bed most of the time.
I went around the con and did stuff.
I could talk about the dealer's room and the artist alley, I guess.
So, wow, we pretty much reviewed Geeknights at Katsucon.
Yep.
Stay tuned. At some point this week, we will continue with another good hour of Katsucon coverage for Katsucon. But,
all right, but next Wednesday, I think we should return to anime manga comics.
Yes. Also, there's a lot of news about Otakon I really got to talk about.
No, you can do that as your news next Wednesday.
All good news. Otakon is moving in a direction that is, I cannot express to you how happy I am with Otakon right now.
Well, that'll be your news next Wednesday.
But I have one last thing to say, and we'll talk about this again later in the week and next week. If you went to Katsucon, go to the Katsucon website. On the front of the Katsucon website, there's a Katsucon 14.
You should have said this at the beginning of the show.
But I'll say it again in the next show.
All right.
A Katsucon 14 attendee survey. Now, every con should have this exact survey. This is like the best convention survey ever.
Technologically and survey-wise.
They asked the right questions. So if you were at Katsucon, fill this survey out.
Fill it out honestly. Honestly, fill it out.
Because all this can do is make Katsucon a better con.
Yep.
And I'll point out that I asked for Kazuo Koike and Ryuichi Ikigami to be guests.
Me too.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.